I saw something floating on Instagram about a month ago that was totally casting some shade on the whole 10,000 steps per day thing. They were talking about how, hey, like this whole step fixation is kind of sickening and it's not real. So I'm like, okay, I can understand that. Like to say like walking 10,000 steps is super important for fat loss and yada, yada. I could see how that could be a stretch. But what about longevity? Like, are we taking it too far and stretching it too far by telling people they should aim for 10,000 steps per day? I think not when you look at the literature. So let's go ahead and break this down because this will tell you exactly where you need to land, how frequently, what you should strive for, and possibly some ancillary work along with it. Let's break it down. After today's video, I popped a link for Thrive Market. That's a 30% off discount link. Thrive Market now has fresh groceries as well. So I just got my first order with fresh groceries. Okay, they literally have cottage cheese, they have meat, they have vegetables, they have asparagus, they have literal fresh stuff. And the prices are absolutely rivaling like Whole Foods and some of these other stores. So for me, it's literally cheaper to order through Thrive, get it delivered to my doorstep, and not have to go to the grocery store at all now. It used to just be pantry staples and maybe some frozen stuff. Now it's everything. They've literally become a grocery store. So that link down below saves you 30% off your entire grocery order. Plus you get a free $60 gift when you use that link. Plus my new nut butters are also on Thrive, which is awesome. They're a product that I formulated and created myself. So there's these dessert nut butters that I think you're gonna really love. So you can check them out by going to Thrive and then you just type in like Thomas DeLauer keto nut butters or something like that and they'll pop up. Anyway, that link down below saves you 30% off right beneath this video. So walking, it's the king of fat loss and I've done videos on that. But what about longevity, right? So there was a study published in The Lancet, looked at 15 studies, okay? Looked at 47,000 people that were walking various amounts of steps. And its goal was to debunk sort of the 10,000 step thing. And what they did is they divided people into 4 groups. Those that walked on average 3,500 steps per day, those that walked on average 5,800 steps per day, those that walked 7,800 steps per day, and those that walked about 10,900 steps per day. And then they backed out all the data and they looked at all-cause mortality, yada, yada. What did they find? They found that compared to quartile 1, the 3,500 step group, the 5,800 step group ended up having a 40% less risk of dying, all-cause mortality, just by going from 3,500 steps to 5,800 steps. And then going from 3,800 steps up to 7,800 steps, 45%. Going from 3,800 steps up to 10,900 steps, 53% less risk of all-cause mortality. More than a 50% reduced risk by walking 10,000 plus steps. Now, playing devil's advocate here, there was clearly the biggest leap from 3,800 to 5,800. So if you're currently walking in the 3,000 to 4,000 steps per day range, if you can squeak yourself up to close to 6,000, that's gonna get you the biggest bang for the buck. So 10,000 being an arbitrary number, yeah, I mean, sure, I could say maybe it's not the magic number, but there is a decent increase going from 7,800 to 10,900. Now, what this data didn't look at is what happens when you go above and beyond that. Like what's gonna happen if you walk more than 10,900 steps. Now, the other thing we have to consider here is that people that walk more, are they naturally more active? Are they naturally more physical? Are they walking 10,900 steps because they're also in construction swinging a sledgehammer and shoveling, and they're doing a lot more activity? The same people that walk, are they also outside more? The same people that walk, are they also in better relationships? A lot of confounders here that we haven't necessarily adjusted for. But let's talk about a few quick reasons why walking is the king of fat loss and the king of longevity. For one, it's utilizing fat primarily as a fuel source. Now, it's not gonna burn more calories as a percentage. Like if you were to go for a run, you're gonna burn more calories. But if you're walking consistently throughout the day, you're in that low, slow beta oxidation burn where you're oxidizing fat. This is tremendously powerful for the mitochondria. It's great for mitochondrial density and overall just energy manufacturing in your body. And it's exceptionally good for your waistline. It's also going to be something that's going to be very passive. You don't have to think about it. It's not something you ever have to worry about saying like, I'm gonna go for a power walk unless you want to. Going for a walk does not feel like exercise, okay? It feels very easy. It's non-concussive. I would much rather you go out and walk 20,000 steps than have a workout that you destroy yourself in, because it's non-concussive, it's mechanically easier, and you can do it for a very long period of time. It's also highly variable. Walking, you can change your terrain and burn more calories. You can go up a hill and burn more calories. You can throw a ruck on and burn more calories. You can carry a backpack and walk up a hill and burn more calories. It's highly, highly variable, which means that it's an adaptable way for you to progressively overload something that might be difficult in the beginning, and you can get better and better and better at it. Let's also not forget that it's exceptionally good for the brain. It's good for the mind. Getting outside and getting sunlight obviously has its benefits, but simply walking at this lower intensity is tremendously powerful for the brain. And I think a lot of us forget about that feedback and that loop that happens between our brain and our body. And mental health is arguably just as important as our physical health. As a matter of fact, when I had Peter Attia on my channel, we talked about longevity in his book, Outlive. We talked specifically about that. It was one of the things that he said he had changed his mind on, was his look at emotional health and his focus on emotional health as a component of the entire longevity equation. So before someone tells you not to strive for your 10,000 steps per day, ask yourself the questions of if you're getting benefit independent of your longevity or your fat loss out of your walks. It's easy, you don't think about it, and before you know it, you're where you want to be. No pun intended. I'll see you tomorrow.